Alright everyone, what is up? My name is Mechanico and this is a reaction video. Yes. Never done one of these before. Not entirely sure how it works. We usually just play games on the channel, I'm not gonna lie. We play games, well, terribly. So we're now going to react. Terribly. I've chosen Bricky's 40K explanation synopsis video because that's what a lot of people said was a really good place to start, and we do love a good meme. We do love a good meme. So let's dive in, learn some Warhammer, and I will have a lot of questions, so please answer, and explain more, please. So yeah, without further ado, let's go.
In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium exists the Empire of Man, a backwards carcass of an empire comprised of many devoted forces, gigantic robot knights, religious machine cultists, and incredibly heavily armored women, most likely with sweltering abs. And one must know what those abs taste like.
Wow. I love how it started off with, like, humans, man, and I'm like, okay, he's got that right, you know, we like to fuck things up, but he then is like, you know, going into the six-packs, and I'm like, wow, this man really loves a woman, and, yeah, it turns out to be a Gamer Subs ad, so you know what, let's continue.
The age of knowledge and enlightenment
And we're back.
has ended. The age of darkness has begun.
Doesn't sound
Roughly
good.
60 million years ago, there existed aliens. And these aliens lived short, painful lives. They belonged to radiation-stricken worlds and often died of various cancers before the age of 30. These aliens, the Necron tier, looked up to the stars and found extreme beings of real power. Beings with the ability to create life. The Old Ones of the galaxy. They asked these Old Ones for help. Please cure us of our ailments. To which the Old Ones said, piss off. So the Necron tier gathered together and did the sensible thing. They declared war upon these old beings and were promptly beaten into the dirt back to their short, painful lives.
Rip. So they asked for help and they were kind of just like, no, we don't think so. You don't deserve it. And they started a war and they lost. It's not really surprising, is it?
In the world of Warhammer, there is a hell. This hell is not like you and I know it. It's more of an afterlife, a place where dead souls end up. This place has many names: the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium, and the Ether. But mostly, we just call it the Warp. While you and I know of hell as a place of horrors and punishment, the Warp isn't really that, not in the beginning. It's energy, but the kind of energy formed from thought and soul, psychic energy, where the dead souls of people end up in a place that is impossible to understand. No laws of reality exist. Like, time is merely a suggestion, and it is not something that can be braved easily. The Warp would be like sailing the ocean in a pirate movie. To jump from your ship would be certain death. To stay in the sea for too long on your boat could drive a man mad. And there are many dangerous things lurking in those depths. Yet, the sea is not evil. It simply is. Mostly.
So, let me get this straight. There's a hell, but we call it the Warp. And it's not really a place, it's just kind of like energy. Can I compare it to what is like a black hole? Is that what's going on here? And you can't exist there? You can't? But he's like, you know, if people are in there for too long, like Jack Sparrow is on his boat, then then they can go mad, but like, how are they there then? I'm not getting that. Let him explain more.
There are more malevolent beings in those waters, areas that you do not sail towards. This would be known as the realm of chaos. The realm of chaos exists in the warp as a special area led by 3 chaos gods. Khorne, the god of combat, murder, and slaughter, with a pile of skulls taken in his name. Tzeentch, god of change, mystery, and deceit, a confusing paradox of lies, schemes, and sorceries. And Nurgle, god of rot, pestilence, and Genshin impact. All things rot in the end. And Grandfather Nurgle is waiting for you with open arms.
Alright, so we have Khorne, Zeagle, Nurgle. Alright, so these 3 gods or whatever of Underworld. The Warp. No, not the Warp. The Land of Chaos? So the Land of Chaos is a place in the Warp, but is actually not a place because the Warp is not a place.
These gods ruled their respective realm in the warp, sending their many followers against each other in the great game to be the most powerful of all the gods. So the warp exists. Hell is real, parallel to our galaxy, with the realm of chaos and its gods fighting for control. But there are also gods of real space, gods of the normal world too. They're called Catan, and they eat stars.
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
These star gods saw the plight of our poor Necron tier and how the old ones cast them aside and said, you know what? You guys want immortality? Oh, we will make it happen. We are the gods of the tangible, of real space. We can give you a cure. So then they ate all their souls.
Did that say Jeffrey Epstein? Alright, so the Catan are in the real world, real space, but they eat stars. So, is that another black hole reference? Like, am I the only one seeing this? Or is this what the people based on? Because I'm trying to think back when Stephen Hawking was like, right, you know, we've got some black holes. It's where time, space, you know, doesn't exist or whatnot. Was it the 80s he wrote his books on this? Quantum physics? Because of, you know, Warhammer started in the 80s, so I don't know how much of the 40k lore came out at that time. Or, you know, is it more of a recent thing that all of this has been written? So, I mean, I would love to know that. Like, did the people who wrote Warhammer, did they really like physics and whatnot? Are they into that? Because, you know, Star Trek is, you know, not a comparison I'm making, but they tried to keep it very close to real life physics and whatnot. So I'm just wondering if Warhammer people are also into that, keeping things consistent with, you know, actual physicalities, if you were.
And turn them into robotic automaton, feasting on their souls and leaving a hollow shell of an intelligence left that is technically immortal. With the power of an entire species' souls, they turned their new robotic slaves on the old ones and hunted them to extinction. The Necron tier, now the soulless, undying Necrons, got their wish at the price of their souls. But we can count the number of kind gods on an amputated hand. With time, the selfish star gods turned on each other, fighting one another for more chances at glory and power. With this, the leader of the Necrons, Zarek, the Silent King, the man who doomed his species when he accepted this deal, waited, planned, bide his time until he seized the perfect moment and turned his legions of undead citizens against the star gods. Gods cannot be killed, but they can be broken. So Zarek broke the star gods into thousands of pieces and locked them away in vaults, taking their free will away as they did to them, and sealed them away as basically Pokemon to be used as weapons in the future.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's the Void Dragon.
Zarek
Did they put the old ones or the Catans into the Pokeball?
then, with his perfect memory, exiled himself for his sins, flying out to the darkness between galaxies to atone for what he had done. This entire situation, the genocide of the Old Ones and the rebellion of Zarek, will go down in history as the War in Heaven.
Okay, I get it. So, the Old Ones, the old gods, so they couldn't break those down? Or that you can't kill them, sorry, but you can break them into pieces, into the Pokeball. Got it.
It is the most brutal war the galaxy has ever seen and ever will see. This was a conflict that took an entire galaxy-spanning species and pitted them against gods that ate stars.
Wait, no, I'm wrong. The ones who ate stars was the C'tans, right? Or did the Old Ones also do that, seeing as they were gods? Or were they gods, the Old Ones? I'm so confused. Someone help me.
The Necrons, rather crippled from, you know, the war in heaven, decide to go to sleep in gigantic tomb worlds on various planets until the upstart species of the galaxy died out. And so turns out, when you have a war that when you add a couple trillion souls to that kiddie pool, it'll make the waves a little more turbulent. And turns out a lot of them like to pick a side, Nurgle, Tzeentch, or Khorne. So the once calmer warp, the once relaxing kiddie pool, has now been bloated. 1,000,000 years of war will certainly make Khorne, god of murder and slaughter, more powerful. 1,000,000 years of war will probably make Tzeentch, god of deception and change, a little more powerful. And good God, 1,000,000 years of war will make Nurgle, god of decay, oh, just the tiniest bit more powerful. Now, entering that kiddie pool is no longer fun, it's dangerous.
Alright, I'm never ever getting in a pool with those guys. That's for sure. That's just a no, right? So, you can pick a side. So is it your soul that when you die goes to... Does it always go to the land of chaos if you die? That's what I'm wondering here. And you get to pick a side, so you are conscious there? What do you do once you're there? So once you pick a side, like what do you then do? I'm kind of just like, you chill? Do you work? Do you party? You know, like, I don't know what's going on.
The warp is now a problem. Hell is resembling hell a lot closer to what we imagined it originally. The Sea of Souls and the Realm of Chaos are now intertwined. So who else to brave the galaxy than a species that won't need to deal with that? The Eldar are space elves. They have a lot of the traits that you probably think of when you think of elves. Tall, slender, pointy ears, bit more androgynous looking, no matter what DeviantArt will tell you, and a bit stronger on the emotional side. The Old Ones, as I mentioned, could create life. And when they were getting, you know, absolutely bodied by the C'tan and the Necrons, they made some new races to try to help them. One of them was the Eldar. It didn't save them, but they're here now anyway.
Alright, so it was the C'tan and the Necrons that fought the Old Ones, literally obliterated them. So in response to that, before I guess they were all destroyed and locked away or whatnot, they created other species. So the Eldar are one of them. Okay, I'm liking the Eldar. I do like an elf. They're pretty cool. They're always badass with a bow. I like that. I like that. Okay, let's keep going.
And also the orcs, but they're busy right now. The Eldar are a particularly psychically powerful race, so they were really adept at being able to handle the new turbulent warp of chaos and good at killing Necrons, hence why they went to sleep. Being psychically gifted is basically like being a wizard, but you get your wizard powers from hell. This is called being a psyker. And basically, if you want to do cool wizard shit like lightning from your hands or reading someone's mind, you can do that, but you siphon the energy to do that from the warp. Luckily, the Eldar are very good at handling this without too many negative effects because, you know, summoning power from the Sea of Souls with the new Chaos friends can be a bit of an issue, but Eldar are pretty good at it. And you see, what's really cool and also awful about Warhammer is that most developed species travel long, faster than light distances by going through that warp. They create a tear in reality to unreality and move through it. Faster than light travel? Cringe.
I love his explanation on travels faster than the speed of light? Cringe. Yeah, well, I mean, Star Wars is still cool. Come on now. But yeah, they do go through hell, apparently. I'm just not getting, okay, why, if they travel through the warp? Like, so is the warp just the land of chaos? Is that all it is? Is that, I think that's like what we're kind of getting at now. I thought at the start he said that the warp is just this big place that you can't really exist in, and in there is the land of chaos. So I'm just, yeah, I'm slowly piecing it together, and I think as soon as I piece it together, he then says something to contradict that, so I'm kind of just like, what?
We go through hell itself to deliver your packages. For those of you who play Minecraft, you know how the Nether is like a pocket dimension? So moving 10 spaces in the Nether is actually moving something like 1,000 in the real world. That's basically what warp travel is. Just much like in the Nether, there are a lot of things that want to kill you. The Eldar found a way to do so in between realities. Not regular reality, not the warp, something else. A purgatory of sorts, a fabricated psychic realm that allowed them to travel without fearing the negative effects of the warp. The Eldar were the perfect fit for the new galaxy, and they took it with open arms and pointy ears. The empire of the Eldar spread everywhere, and it spread all the way until now. The 21st century. That's right, while you were watching NPC streams on TikTok, the space elves were ruling the galaxy, and they did so for quite a long period of time. The 21st century came and went. Humanity grew and grew, all under the nose of their elf overlords. At this time, humans advanced, your classic sci-fi style way. We began to expand, colonize our solar system, terraformed our planets, created new and more powerful machines and starships. The age of Terra, also known as Earth, but we call it Terra here, was here, and existed between the 21st century all the way until the 15th millennia. Not much is known about this time, not much needs to be known. Humanity grew up, sought the stars. It's classic. Then came the years between 15,000 and 25,000, the age of technology, or to some, the dark age of technology.
I'm kind of glad they didn't focus on like the age of man. I guess it's, you know, it's for me, when they, as soon as he said that, you know, there's not really much known about this time, but man sought the stars, it's kind of like, it brings me into this world even more, and I'm just like, oh, we're living it right now. This is like us right now, so we're not even at this, not like the next stage of, well, it doesn't sound great. He did just say the dark age of technology, so somehow I feel like we fucked up along the way.
This is when humanity reached a new apex of technological understanding. When you think of sci-fi, there's a lot of things you can think of. Star Trek, maybe Star Wars style, you can go cyberpunk dystopian. The age of technology was deep sci-fi, like a scientific prowess that fringed on magic. This is also when the first ever psychers began showing up in humanity. Individuals with the genetic mutation to be able to access the warp, and then because of that, travel through it. Humanity was no longer constricted to their early ways of travel. With warp travel, they could go anywhere in the galaxy. They equipped ships with gigantic AI machines, with everything you would ever need to know about mankind, and sent them out on colony ships to expand their influence across the galaxy. This was truly the golden age of humanity. And with every golden age, there is a fall.
Oh hell. I hate how he's put in Berserk there. That's like one of the very few animes that, like, it just tore me apart. Like, nah. Don't be bringing up Berserk, mate. It's too much. Sears? Psychic Sears? I can't remember what he said. And yeah, they're just what, like the elders do. So where are the elders in all this? Have we not met them yet? Do we not, like, do species not cross in Warhammer? Do they not, like, live together at all, or what? What's going on there?
While the new human upstarts of the galaxy were reaching new levels of technology and prowess, the Eldar were engaging in
Debauchery!
debauchery! Debauchery! What happens when a species has everything? You can produce unlimited food out of nothing. Your need for farmers and workers, gone. You have dominated the stars and have created a fast travel system that doesn't rely on the dangers of the warp. You have nothing else to do. You have no struggles, no problems, and feel as if there is nowhere else to go. Well, you begin to experiment. The Eldar started harmless enough. You know, you take a serious interest in your species' culture, your arts, paintings, poems, plays. These are Eldar, elves, remember? Their emotions are heightened, more powerful than us humans. So your plays get louder. They start to push on the limits of your hearing ability. Your music becomes different, more deranged. It pushes the boundaries of what is art. The visual spectacle of art becomes more bizarre, more delusional, more eccentric.
It's really incredible to, like, imagine a species, or imagine, say, us, if we got to the point that, you know, we didn't have to worry about absolutely anyone. No one had to work or do anything. Like, that sounds like insanely awesome to me, but the fact that he started off this section saying debauchery, debauchery, it doesn't sound good to where it's going, and it's just, you know, it's really sad that everything so far seems to just end up in the shitter. Let's carry on.
And let's not forget a very important sense. Touch. Pornography is one thing. Brothels is another. What if they all mixed? What if your brothels were part of your art and music? And what if those became more deranged? The boundaries of debauchery were not just met, but shattered. Next thing you know, murder is commonplace and often mixed with the art, music, and sex. Pain is a common byproduct of entertainment. Whatever sensation you can have must be increased, must be enhanced, must be taken to the limits. The Eldar Empire slipped into a nightmarish realm of debauchery and excess, with the worst of it taking place in a city in the Webway, a black market for these kinds of heinous acts known as Kamara.
Well, my favorite species have officially fallen. Kinda sad. I was totally like, you know, yeah, I would love to be the Eldar. I'd love to chill and be all smart and cool, and I don't like the idea of being very emotional because I find that hard enough being a human. But as soon as he started going into the whole BDSM thing, I think he's like lost me, not gonna lie. He's just lost me there.
Some Eldar saw the writing on the wall, saw what was happening to their species and how far they had slipped. So they boarded continent-sized starships called craft worlds and left their empire, seeking a more enlightened, calmer existence among their peers.
Yeah, I would definitely join the ones that are just like, no, just plain old vanilla is good for me. Just vanilla. Yeah, none of that extra stuff. None of that.
But for the majority of the Eldar, their empire died with Slaaneish's birth. The new fourth Chaos God, she who thirsts, the god of some, those in Kamara, pushed it to even greater heights, relishing the pain and torment they inflicted on those around them. All during this, the warp, the yin to the yang of the world, was fed by these emotions, by the psychic power of the Eldar, by the souls taken in these depraved acts on a galactic scale. And just like that, Eldar ended. Slaanesh, the fourth Chaos God, was birthed into existence and consumed the souls of 90% of the Eldar population. Those that fled were spared the worst of it, and those in the Webway and Kamara were able to stave off the pull of Slaanesh so long as they continued to commit horrid acts of torture and violence. Unspeakable excess of pleasure, pain, hedonism, and perfection had been born. With the fall of the Eldar Empire came the ruin of humanity. Slaanesha's birth sent storms in the warp across the galaxy, making travel between star systems impossible. Coupled with a huge classic AI rebellion, as a staple in these sci-fi settings, humanity began to suffer the age of strife. Now, planets that relied on intergalactic travel were completely cut off. Long-range messages normally sent through the warp were snuffed out. If you were a planet that was great at mining stuff but couldn't get food, well, you know that movie about the rugby players in the mountains?
I absolutely love how these elves were like created, or maybe not created for the sole purpose of being this incredibly great species, and they created themselves the travel to not go through the warp in terms of the land of chaos and get all kind of mixed up in all that hell business. And at the same time, when they start to fall into this debauchery, they start feeding it, and they then basically create something that's even more wild, and it's their own fault. I mean, what can you say? Like, it's just one of those things where things or people are just always searching, what can I do now? I'm bored. Like, what's wrong with being bored? You know, I would love to have a time where I didn't have to worry about anything. I think all of us would, and the fact that this species has just been like, let's just take it to the extreme, like, it just really, really annoys me. But to be honest, it's so realistic. I think that's why it really annoys me, because I feel like that would probably happen to us. And the fact that they created their own ending and birthed another hell god, you kinda deserve it. It's not good to beat up and kill people, you know, it should never be fun, because you're lacking, you know, you're just lacking sensation. Like, that's just, oh, hell no. So it happened alongside AI also having a mind of its own and then turning evil. Now, I don't know if that's a coincidence, but that's pretty bad timing. So everything that people have built, all the lands and inhabitable places to mine and whatnot, they'll just be cut off, and it's absolutely insane. This is the dark age of man. Like, this is absolutely insane. It's blowing my mind.
Oh, and because of these insane warp storms and fluctuations, psychers began to appear among the human population a bit more often. Now, this initially had them hunted down as witches, because that's pretty common in this setting, but some deemed it right to protect them. Unfortunately for those people, psychers, because they open a gateway to the warp, don't really know how to use their powers well, and they kinda attract demons, who then force their way through the psyker as a conduit of sorts and begin to slaughter the population of your planet. The Age of Strife was a catastrophic period of time for humanity and set back their progress tenfold over the not one, not two, but 5,000 year period. During this time, the age of humanity that we know began to form. Worlds equipped with large mechs for agriculture began to equip them with weapons to defend from alien and demonic invaders. Over 5,000 years, this became a custom and tradition, dubbing them as night worlds, a feudal society of honor-bound knights in gigantic robots that uphold the chivalric code to defend their worlds and honor. A group of individuals on Mars, after radioactively bombing their planet to become inhospitable to human life, ran their entire lives underground on the few life support systems keeping them alive. Those technicians who could work on the machines and keep them operational were revered, and over 5,000 years went from skilled members of society to full-blown priests. The cult Mechanicus, or tech priests of Mars, formed in the ashes of the Red Planet with a religious fervor and doctrine on the cult of the machine god. And on Earth, or Terra,
Okay, so now you've got all these kind of separated lands, and they all have their own beliefs, and also Terra looks terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. There's no green anymore. There's, on all of these planets, I'm not seeing any grass. Yeah, or green or blue, like what it was. It's just all built over, it's all machine. It looks It honestly looks very, very depressing. Oh, Lord.
No barbarian tribes waged war across the planet in a Mad Max style of blood and gore, until finally, a mysterious man who lived in the shadows of Terra for millennia finally revealed himself to the populace. His name was the Emperor. He deemed himself the Emperor of mankind. Where did he come from? I don't know. Why is he 10 feet tall and the most powerful psyker of all of mankind? I don't know. Why is he basically immortal? I don't know. Where'd Cotton Eye Joe go? Who knows? But he's here, and he isn't happy with all of you ripping up Terra.
Oh, I love a good savior story. And I'm just wondering, though, where the Emperor was in all of this going wrong. Because, you know, he said, oh, he reveals himself. But why wouldn't he just reveal himself a little earlier? Help out a little bit? Or did he know that this was inevitable and... Oh, let's just carry on.
So he began the Unification Wars, where he and a very early version of the famous Space Marines, the Thunder Warriors, reunited Terra under a single banner. With blood. Then, after taking over Earth, he reunited the Thunder Warriors into the fucking dirt. This is where we get the Imperium of Man, also known as the Imperium. The new faction headed by the Emperor of Mankind, with a treaty signed with the Cult Mechanicus on Mars to spread out and reunite humanity after the catastrophic Age of Strife.
Okay, great. So we have this Emperor and he's trying to unify all of these different factions together that have been split up through all of these terrible events happening. So this is pretty cool. And also the Thunder Warriors as the OG Space Marines. That's pretty cool. And as Bricky said, we don't know anything about, like, why is he this way, which I would love to know where he came from. Is there a book or anything about how the Emperor came to be? Like, how is he born? Is it kind of like Jesus? I don't know. Something to look into, I guess.
But first, the Emperor is going to need some smaller versions of himself. 20 of them, 18 of them, I meant, gene-crafted sons of the strongest human to ever live. All of them possess unparalleled strategic power, intelligence, formidable strength and size, a real powerful force to unite humanity and stop the chaos of the current galaxy. Speaking of chaos, you ever seen that image of that guy? It's like throwing the baby like a basketball? It's about what happened. The Chaos Gods intervened and grabbed the 18 Primarch gestation pods and yeeted them across the galaxy at a whim, everywhere they could possibly go. A galactic game of keep away. So the Emperor had to get them back.
So let me get this straight. This guy, who's basically immortal, all-knowing, all-seeing, just totally awesome, creates 18 children that are also pretty badass. Yet they're traveling in space in a pod and they get taken by the Chaos Lords and, as he said, yeeted across the galaxy? How did that even happen? Like, that's just silly. So they're called Primarchs. Okay. Let's just wait and see what happens.
So begins the Great Crusade, a crusade across the stars to reunite not just humanity, but the Emperor with his fallen sons. The first to be found was Horus, one of the strongest and most noble sons. The Emperor carried with him a legion of newly crafted warriors with genetic material made from their Primarch father. These are the newly made Space Marines. For Horus, his were the Luna Wolves. And as the Emperor continued on his great crusade, he found more and more of his sons, reuniting them with their individual Space Marine legions. Leman Russ, the cunning hunter with the Space Wolves. Rogel Dorm, the Phalanx with the Imperial Fists. Angron, the Barbarian, the very angry with his World Eaters. Fulgrim, the Perfect, with his Emperor's children. And Jagatai Khan, the Swift, the Stoic, and his white scars. Those were just some of the 18, and one by one his lost Primarch sons were returned to him, and their Space Marine legions returned to them.
Okay, so 18 Primarchs, does that mean that there's 18 different Space Marine kind of like armies? You know, you've got the Lunar Wolves, which were Horus's. So am I getting that right? Is there 18? Can someone please clarify that? I'd love to know what your favorite Space Marine army is. Or your favorite Primarch. I don't know if that's a thing or if they go into detail of all 18. And I don't know even if, you know, all 18 have Space Marine kind of clans, if it were. So far, I probably think that the White Scars, for me, just based on look, I haven't read anything, they look the most badass to me. I think, you know, Jakata Khan or whatever his name was, he looks awesome.
The Great Crusade saw humanity once again reconquer the stars, returning worlds of humanity back to the Imperium and killing any and all who stood against their noble crusade. But in the years of the 31st millennia, treachery would break this all apart.
Men, we don't know what we did.
Horus, the Emperor's most beloved and favored sons, named War Master for the Crusade, succumbed to the power of chaos and daddy issues, all because of that bastard Erebus. Yo, fuck Erebus. Slowly, Horus would become corrupted, turning the Emperor's sons against him. This begins the most pivotal moment in our story, and the one that has like 50 books written about it, the Horus Heresy. 9 of the 18 Primarchs turned against the Emperor, and the following years were a bloody battle for the throne of Terra.
Okay, definitely think this is where the Emperor went wrong. He had a favorite child. Just never a good idea. They always get this crazy complex of me, and I'm the best, and spoilt brat. So, I mean, let's blame the parent here. Let's, you know, Horus, yes, didn't have to betray and ruin everything that was good in this world, or you know, what had literally just been rebuilt, and betray his family. That's kind of crap. But at the same point, I feel that the Emperor created this complex. I do. Also, am I right in saying faction? Is the faction like the species? So you have Eldar, Mechanicus, whatnot, Adeptus Mechanicus, like things like that. Is that what the factions are, and the Space Marines are like, I don't know, maybe I can class them as clans? Again, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Someone help me. Someone please help me and explain all of this.
The Emperor originally was working on a special webway project, just like the Eldar, to make faster-than-light travel significantly easier and safer. Really improve humanity to allow them to conquer the stars without the risk of the warp. Well, this big red idiot named Magnus kind of blew a hole into that. Literally and figuratively. So Big E over there is stuck on a gigantic golden throne, holding back the oncoming rush of demons and powering the Astronomicon. Basically a big North Star for people who are sailing in the warp to help them navigate. The Horus Heresy saw many loyalist and traitor legions pitted against each other in a bloody war until it reached Terra itself. Horus, unable to break through the lines and with time running out, made a gambit and opened his ship up to be boarded. The Emperor took this challenge, quickly allowing someone else to take control of the throne as he teleported his way onto Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. The Emperor, unable to truly kill his most beloved son, changed his mind right quick when Horus strangled the life out of his other son, Sanguinius.
Oh no!
I'm sure you've seen this image at some point. The Emperor then said, "I'm not gonna sugarcoat it," and proceeded to psychically blast Horus into complete oblivion, killing not only his body, but also his soul.
I love this Emperor basically doing all of what the Elder did, but by himself. And then all of a sudden, half of his children turn on him, and he's just like, I'm a bit busy right now. Can y'all just like maybe wait another 1,000 years or something? And the fact as well, like, one of his sons just blew a hole in it, so he now can't leave the chair because he's like, well, if I leave the chair, then y'all are doomed, and hell will come in and take you all. Goodbye. That is absolutely terrible. So, like, it's this whole father-son, like, oh, I can't kill you, my son, hoping that the son's then like, right, yeah, I fucked up, I'm so sorry, like, how can I, you know, sacrificing himself and then everything's better. But no, he then kills, literally right in front of his immortal, incredibly powerful dad, his other son. So basically then deserves to be crushed to dust. Well, not even dust, because he then has no soul, no body, nothing. He literally just disintegrates him. And to be honest, like, that's really satisfying for me to hear, because even though I've not read any of the Horus Heresy or know anything of the lore, I just really don't like him. You know, everything went to shit time and time again. You get this one person that's trying to do good, and then all of a sudden, because of your daddy issues, you're like, ah, fuck you. So you know what? Fuck you back, Horus. You deserve to be absolutely obliterated.
Horribly wounded from this duel, the Emperor is returned to the Golden Throne in order to keep the demons at bay and power the Astronomicon, because without it, humanity would be flying blind. There he sits, slowly dying from his wounds and the strain of powering the Golden Throne. The only thing keeping him alive is feeding upon the souls of 1,000 Psykers every single day. This was 10,000 years ago.
Oh, where's he getting these Psykers from? Ew, it's probably like some human farm or something. Ew, I don't want to think about that. He was good until that point. Although, I mean, if he is keeping the rest of humanity alive, then, I guess tit for tat, innit? So I don't understand that this guy who's immortal is heavily wounded and is dying in his chair while, you know, hooked up to all these machines to basically keep everyone safe. Like, how? How did he get hurt? I don't get it.
We are now in the 41st millennium, modern day. Warhammer 40,000.
Hey, we finally made it. Let's go.
The Emperor remains on his throne. The Imperium is a rotting carcass of an empire, a fascist, xenophobic cult that worships the Emperor as a deity despite him never wanting to be seen as a god. Over the span of 1 million worlds, the ecclesiarchy, the Church of the Emperor, is spread throughout. Inquisitors with unparalleled power root out any sign of heresy or lack of devotion to their god emperor. The other half of the traitor legions move about as Chaos Space Marines, raiding and pillaging the Imperium, while the loyalist half does their best to keep the Empire alive. All throughout this, they must endure Orc invasions, Eldar trickery, the reawakening of the Necron race, and the Great Devourer, the newest tyrannid threat from the darkness between galaxies that has arrived to feast on their worlds.
Oh, right, okay, so now we actually have all these, you know, the Orcs, the Eldar, and Imperium kind of like fighting each other. I asked originally at the start, why can't the humans and the Orcs and the Eldar, you know, all live together and help each other? But, you know, didn't really see any of that at all until now. They're all kind of clashing and they're all fighting, which is just kind of sucky. Why can't y'all just get on? You have the Tyranids also here now as well. There's a lot going on, and it ain't good. What can I say? It's not good.
The theme of Warhammer 40,000 is regression and intolerance. Every major faction in Warhammer has had an empire that spanned the galaxy only to be crushed back to a hollow shell of what they once were due to their own failings. Culture, the arts, personal freedom, religious tolerance, the simple possibility that alien life might not want to kill us is considered heretical and is often met with a pistol to the head.
The fact that he mentions, you know, everyone has experienced this crushing sense of loss, right? And it's just all their own doing. And, you know, this is a running theme. There is just no hope, because even if there is, someone is gonna fuck it up. And I genuinely feel like that is the world we live in, but this is just done on such a heroic and just outer worldly scale. It really is just, it's incredible. It's exaggerated. It's just incredible, but it's also, it feels like it could be real. It genuinely does. It's terrifying.
There is no time for these things. All there is time for is worship of the God Emperor and a million wars to be fought. To be a human in the 41st millennia is 99% of the time to live a horrible existence. To be one of trillions of other humans across a million worlds throughout the galaxy. A galaxy where AI is outlawed, so humans are repurposed and lobotomized to become slaves. A place where lack of devotion is met with death. And if you even have devotion, there is a good chance the threats to the galaxy, chaos, and aliens will kill you anyway. Warhammer is a world where you revel in being bad. There are protagonists, there are antagonists, but every faction is some shade of evil. Because playing the bad guys is always more fun. And my friend, you have a selection.
Every faction is some shade of some evil? I'm just thinking of all the games you can choose. Good path, bad path. Like, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2. Arthur can choose the honor road or he can go down the dishonorable road. And I always choose the honorable path. So it's kind of like the fact that everyone's evil. I'm just like, where do I go? Who do I go with?
So pick up that las gun, soldier. You and the other 3 million men and women in this single deployment on this single world in this single battle will now show them the might of the God Emperor. That weapon in your hands has killed 99% of the alien populations in this galaxy. Unfortunately for you, soldier, you're fighting the final 1%. May the Emperor be with us. Glory to the first man to die, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Oh my gosh, so basically eradicated 99% of the alien race. Or alien races, as it were, because there was quite a few. 1% left, but it is the worst one left. It's the hardest. It's the most deadly. Okay, well, I mean, I still like those chances, but I mean out of, you know, trillions. Say if you're basing it on a population of trillions, then 1% still could be you're like going to be fighting for another 1,000, 100,000 years. So this is I'm not too sure of the timescale. So 1% sounds good, but I don't think it's really meaning it in that kind of way here. And the fact that there is just only war. I mean, the name was kind of given away by the fact that this is all called Warhammer. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Bricky for explaining all of that in a really kind of engaging, funny, but like really just gripping way. I can see why a lot of people have recommended this as a place to start to learn about the Warhammer 40K kind of timeline. It's been so interesting, and I'm absolutely blown away right now. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. I recently asked you guys on the channel, what book should I start with? And I think he's going to be going into which ones he recommends. So I put out a poll. Horus Heresy was the top, so I have started with Horus Rising. I did. And the second one I thought I would also start with was the Gaunt's Ghosts. Okay, so we had Eisenhorn, Kivas Kane, Infinite and Divine, and I had a look at all of those different ones, and a lot of people said that the Kivas Kane was like really, really funny and whatnot, but I don't know, the Ghosts, the Gaunt's Ghosts, sorry, that one was the one that really spoke to me on like a personal level. I went with the poll, Horus Rising. because I'm not going to do a poll and not listen to you guys. That would just be kind of silly. What, you know, why do the poll in the first place? As my personal choice, I chose God's Ghost because I found that one really, really kind of interesting. And yeah, I cannot wait to read them. I'm going on holidays, so I will be sitting without any screens, and I will just be tuning in to Warhammer lore, so wish me luck. I hope I don't fall down this rabbit hole too far, but I think we're already there. I think we're already there and we are diving into this, and to be honest, I'm absolutely loving it, and thank you everyone for, you know, helping me, explaining things, and, you know, just being here. Your support and your like and your love on the channel is so greatly appreciated, and I hope to see you for more whatever we do on this channel. It's a big world of Warhammer, and, you know, I'm loving getting into this, but I just love video games in general, and stick around for the journey. It's going to be like a 40k timeline. It's going to be disaster after disaster, but, you know, hopefully we're going to make it together and keep it sub-average, as per usual. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.